Hello, my name is Sarah Champion and I'm very proud to be the Member of Parliament for Rotherham. Rotherford have asked me to respond to a number of questions that they've put to me. So I've got the questions on my phone and I'm going to try and answer them as honestly and as directly as I can. So the first question is, what have you been doing in lockdown to help the community? It's been really frustrating. Normally, I am out able to pop into shops, pop into people's homes, have physical surgeries with people, and just wander around the town and see what's going on. Of course, with lockdown, I've been locked down as well. So I've been having virtual surgeries with people. Most of the work has been happening over email. And what I've been trying to do is make the implications of lockdown as least horrible, if that's a word, as I can. So I've had people coming to me with real problems over being self-employed, but only recently self-employed, so not eligible for the government scheme. I've had people coming to me because they got a new job just before lockdown, but they hadn't started it. So again, they wouldn't be eligible for the furloughing scheme. I've had some awful, awful cases of one woman whose husband was taken ill, ended up in hospital, was diagnosed with COVID, and she wasn't able to see him, and he sadly passed away. And trying to get her the information about what was going on by dealing with the hospital on her behalf. I've had people when their loved ones have died who just haven't been able to bury them, haven't been able to have services, and so trying to work with the council to get them access so that they can have closure. Lots and lots of people with very specific questions. And the problem is, I'm an opposition MP. So I think what the government has done on some areas has been very good, particularly around sort of very quickly bringing forward the furloughing scheme, bringing forward the scheme for self-employment, even though you had to wait 2.5 months before you actually got any cash. But they've been less good on the detail, particularly on the social side of things. So my role has been, when constituents have come to me with an issue, is to raise that with the minister, try and find them the answer through the council, and really lobby on their behalf, because that's my job. My job is to fight for the people of Rotherham, and it's been tough during lockdown. A lot of the tools that I have of physically seeing a minister when I'm in Parliament and going up and badgering them to get justice for my constituent, that's been taken away from me until very recently. So it's been overwhelming, the level and complexity of problems that people in Rotherham have, and we're just symptomatic of the rest of the town. So it's been difficult. Next question, how have you had time to adjust your work and balance family time? the, the reality is, as everybody knows, working from home, you work twice as hard as when you're working in an office. All the distractions that you might have, so popping out for lunch, going and getting a coffee, talking to someone when you queue for the loo, all of that's stripped out. So literally all that you've got is work. And the problem is, I take really seriously the fact that I am employed by the people of Rotherham to serve the people of Rotherham. And they've been having real, real problems at the moment. So I can't just go, you know what, I'm going to watch telly for an hour. I have to keep on responding, because for some people it's literally been life and death, the issues that I've been dealing with. For example, people that have been trapped abroad at the beginning of the COVID-19, running out of money, scared, trying to get them home. And I've got to tell you, I might not have that much downtime, but getting the call from the mum letting me know that her daughter was there at the airport, just the best reward you can possibly have. What's the one thing you're missing most in lockdown? I guess it's the same as everyone. I'm missing that sort of casual social interaction. So when I'm in my Rotherham office and I walk into town to get a sandwich, just meeting someone and chatting to them. They might be coming up because they've got a problem. They might be coming up because they're just interested to see what an MP does, or just literally just having that sort of catch up with friends. Zoom's great, I'm talking to you, but it's not the same. But everybody knows that. What's the first thing you're going to do when this is over? I mean, that presupposes that there is an end. I'm being quite pessimistic about this because I'd rather be overly cautious and prove wrong. The reality is going to be, I think, that we will be living with COVID-19 and the repercussions of it for a very long time. Even if we develop a vaccine, which is the only real way to stay safe, that vaccine's still got to be rolled out. Any of you that have the flu jab will know that you have to get an appointment at your GPs. You have to make sure that they've got the vaccine. It often runs out, so you wait for the next batch. Scale that not only across the whole of the UK, but across the whole of the world. And that's the thing. We might have everybody in the UK getting the vaccine, but there will be other countries that we might go to on holiday where it might have mutated into a different form that we're still susceptible for. So this is something that, it's really managing rather than seeing a proper end to it. I hope I'm wrong. When we look at SARS that happened 20 years ago, that just seemed to disappear. So I hope that something like that happens. So COVID mutates into something else that doesn't have a human host. Sorry, animals. But so to answer the question, what's the first thing you're going to do when this is over? I would like to go to a crowded bar and just have a beer and be grumpy that I can't hear properly because there's so many people close to me talking and having a good time. What has surprised you most about your community? Well, there's two different communities. There's the community of my sort of close family and friends, and I've just been incredibly impressed with how we've all stepped up to look after one another, to look after strangers. So I've taken responsibility for three elderly families that are close to me, being their sort of point of contact, running and getting them stuff. And everybody seems to be doing that. So I really like that it's brought out that community side of us. The broader community for me is my Rotherham community. And I've just been overwhelmed with the acts of kindness that people are doing. I've been overwhelmed with how people in the council, in the NHS, in care homes, in Asda, in Morrison's, in Tesco, in the local shop have just carried on doing their job, have changed, have done whatever it takes to make sure that everybody's safe. Things like there's loads of little cafes that are doing free or cost delivery services to care homes near them, or to elderly people near them. There's loads of people that I know that are making gowns for the NHS, that are doing food runs for people that they've never even met before. And I mean, it's always been the one thing that I love about Rotherham, that it is a proper community, that we do stand by our neighbours, and that has been demonstrated 100% day in, day out since this hit. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for doing that. You've reaffirmed my faith in humanity and confirmed my faith in Rotherham. Next, so if you could take one lesson from lockdown, what piece of advice would you give to future generations? I hope, going back to my last answer, that it's just made us realise that being kind and looking out for your neighbour are two things that we ought to do as a daily standard thing. Because the thing that I think I hope that it's made us realise is that we're not little islands. We don't operate in isolation. We're actually heavily dependent on a vast number of people. So whether that's the delivery driver or the school teacher, we need all of these people in our lives. And we're also giving services to others. I mean, it might not be through the job that we do. It might just be through looking out for someone. You know, if there's an elderly lady next to you and you don't see her for a couple of days, just go round, just check that she's okay. You know, she might have fallen over, she might be poorly, or she might just be watching a box set and really doesn't want you to interrupt. But just ask. So it's be kind. and remember we're a community and do your part of that community. That would be the thing that I want the younger generation to pick up from this. What have you learned about yourself over this time? I think I've learned how self-sufficient I am. I think I've learned how much time I waste travelling. So as an MP, it takes me 3 hours on public transport to get down to London, and to be able to work remotely from home. So when I'm doing a vote, which normally takes 20 minutes, to be able to do that with the press of a button and carry on actually serving my constituents. When I go down to London, yes, I'm working on my laptop going down, but it's not the same, and I get travel sick, so I can't do that much. Um, so, so I really want to do as much from home as I can, because I think it makes me more accessible to constituents, and means I get more time to actually focus on working for constituents. So that's been a lesson, but also just how resilient I am. You know, the earlier question, what do I miss? Yeah, I miss going to the pub. Yes, I miss social interaction, but actually, you know, I've got on okay. I've done my work. I've remained healthy, and that's been quite a good lesson to learn. So, last question. How do you think we could do things better as a society for our residents and community after this period? Well, I hate to say it, but this period has shown all the weaknesses in our society. So it's shown the people that we undervalue, that we're actually really dependent on. So that will be people who are carers, whether caring for their own families or caring for other people's, people that are in healthcare, people that are deliveries drivers, people that are shop workers, people that work in the council, all of the public sector. I think that over years, rather than holding them as the pinnacle, as the glue for society, we've diminished their importance, and that very, very clearly is reflected in their salaries. Whereas I think what we need to be doing now is recognising that they are essential to the running of our community. The thing I said earlier, the other thing that we need to learn is that we are all interconnected. So if you start taking resources from one area, another area will start having an impact. So if we don't maintain our housing stock, then people are going to start to get health issues. If people get health issues, they put pressure on the NHS. It's things like that. And one of the starkest things that has happened during lockdown is reported incidents of domestic abuse have gone up by at least 20% across the country, more in some areas. And that makes me really worried, because that shows us just how prevalent it is. But also, my concern with children not going to school is that there are children in the house that are witnessing that. And we need to make sure that all the vulnerable in our society are protected. And I think a lot of the vulnerable in our society don't get the protection that they need, whether that's children, whether that's people with disabilities, whether that's people who have abusive partners. We need to do more to recognise that, to properly compensate the people that work to prevent that, and as a society to have zero tolerance. We want our most vulnerable to get the best service, not just the scraps at the end of the day. So for me, that will be something that I will continue campaigning for, because we now know where the vulnerable are, what the weaknesses are in our care system, in our public health system, in our public services. So we can't just forget about that. We need to make sure going forward that we address that. I hope that gives you an insight into where I'm at. And I just want to reiterate thank you to everybody in Rotherham who I know has been doing so much for their friends, for their neighbours, for strangers, for the people that they serve. And it's just been an honour to be a little part in helping you all out. Thank you very much.